The wait is over. The moment we've all been waiting for has finally arrived as MotoGP Mania hits India for the very first time in Grand Prix history. A crowd of 60,000 are packed into the Bud International Circuit here on the outskirts of bustling New Delhi as we get set for the inaugural Indian Oil Grand Prix of India. One of the toughest tests of man and machine now on the Grand Prix calendar. 21 laps coming your way in some of the most extreme conditions of the season. As we kick off the pivotal phase, the title run-in starts here. It starts now at the Bud International Circuit. 8 races in 10 weeks. 7 of them are overseas tour. It kicks off here today in India. Next weekend, of course, we are back on track. The Japanese Grand Prix in Motegi. Will Jorge Martin be even closer than 33 points? He sits behind Pecco Bagnaia in the World Championship after his 4th sprint win of the season yesterday. 33 points, the title gap. 33 points, the ambient temperature. It's a scorcher here in India. Marc Marquez, 700 days since he was last victorious in MotoGP. Is today the day that he finds his way back to the top step of the podium? India, it is time to race. Brace yourselves for the race. One of the most eagerly anticipated Grand Prix in recent memory. As we break new territory, as we break new ground, the first ever Premier Class Grand Prix to take place on Indian soil since this great championship began back in 1949. There is your championship picture then, coming into this 13th round of 20. Pecco Bagnaia, 33 clear of Martin. 69 adrift now is Marco Bezzecchi, who starts from pole position for the 4th time in MotoGP. A rousing recovery for him from the back of the grid in that Tissot sprint yesterday. Contact at the very first corner for his Mini VR46 teammate Luca Marini, put him in the gravel trap. He was dead last and then reeled off a succession of superb laps in the 144 bracket. What will be the race pace over the longer distance here today? As we mentioned, this is the special moment, the unforgettable moment that those Indian fans have been craving for. They've been desperate to see firsthand, up close and personal, the very best riders in the world. Well, they're now sitting right in front of them, ready to start this Grand Prix of India. Bezzecchi goes from pole position. The race winner already this season in Termas 3 Hondo and in Assen. Double podium for him last time out in Misano, keeping himself in championship contention. Alongside him is the always fast-starting Jorge Martin. He was electric off the line, wasn't he, last time out in the Tissot sprint. The last 51 laps in MotoGP have been all led by the Martinator. It's full throttle, it's lights out, and we are Grand Prix racing here in MotoGP in India for the first time, and Martin does make the dream start again from the middle of that front row. Bagnaia slots on the inside of Bezzecchi, the poleman as well. Mir got away really strongly. Maverick Vinales goes wide. I think one of the Gas Tech 3 bikes is wide as well, but Martin into P1, into turn 3 they go for the very first time. Marquez trying to find a way through on the inside of Mir into turn 3. That's a success for it. They're side by side now, the Repsolandas, but Martin then leads Bagnaia.
Bagnaia though locked in the slipstream of Jorge Martin. Mir got a brilliant start from the second row but couldn't get his way through into turn 1. Bagnaia then does pull alongside Jorge Martin, but he just cannot outbrake the Martinator, who gets to turn 4 first but sails off wide.
Yeah, Martin was never going to stop that one. He was desperate not to lose the advantage there to Bagnaia, because he knows in the group, he knows if he's behind riders, he's going to have big headaches with front tyre pressure and front tyre temperature. Marquez slugs it out with Quartararo into turn 5 for the first time. Quartararo getting a little bit loose. He tried to get on the gas to recover that lost position.
Brad Binder, as always, looking to make his way through from deep on the grid. He is up to 8th place. Not the progress he made yesterday, but he is up 4 spots. So
then Martin, that costly mistake at the end of that top speed 6th gear run down to turn 4 dropped him back out of the lead to 3rd place. Coming under early pressure then here from Marc Marquez. Here we go then. It's Bagnaia that leads from Bezzecchi. Martin trying to recover that lost ground. He was out on the marbles, wasn't he, wide. Bezzecchi Well, he threatened this in yesterday's sprint. His laps times in the sprint were astonishing. There were only 11:144 laps in that sprint yesterday. 8 of them were set by the man we're looking at right now, that number 72 bike. And he goes for it immediately on the inside of Bagnaia. On the brakes in the turn 30. He's going to run a little bit wide on the exit. Marquez had a lunge as well at Martin. It's all kicking off here on the first lap in India. A memorable first lap led by Bezzecchi.
So Bezzecchi from Bagnaia and then Martin, who resisted that approach from Marc Marquez into the final corner. Quartararo continuing to defend from Joan Mir in the background. Then it's Zarco and Binder, Aleix Espargaro and Frankie Morbidelli up into the top 10. Maverick Vinales, as you saw, dropped to the back of the field. Jack Miller has also plummeted down the order. He's 19th now.
Now, if Bezzecchi can get into anything like the rhythm he had in the sprint yesterday, this could be game over very early on here, because nobody got anywhere near his best pace. His fastest lap of that sprint yesterday, that 1:44.5, was nearly 4 tenths quicker than anybody else. Marquez, well, he's going the long way around there, and Quartararo may well snatch back that 4th place, not close enough into turn 4. Bezzecchi then, as they sweep now, high-speed run to turn 5. Bagnaia trying to close in. Bezzecchi was just a little bit nervous, a little bit twitchy on that front end as he threw it in there to 5.
Yeah, Jorge Martin then has got a little bit of work to do here, because he'll be well aware of what we all told you after yesterday's sprint, that Marco Bezzecchi had phenomenal pace on his way through the field. So Martin will be quite keen if Bezzecchi starts to put some time into Bagnaia to get through on the world champion as quickly as possible if he thinks he's got the pace to win this Grand Prix. Piero Taramasso told us before the race that this might be a race where we early on see a little bit of tyre management. They've all gone for that soft rear tyre. So Bezzecchi, if he does bolt early at the front of his field, needs to make sure he doesn't take too much out of his tyres early on.
Marquez doing a phenomenal job on the Repsol there, hanging on to the 3 Ducatis directly ahead of him. A sprint 3rd place yesterday, a big helping hand, of course, with Bezzecchi ruled out of contention early on. Joan Mir, that's going to be really close. 1 millimetres, wasn't it, between Mir's front tyre and Quartararo's rear tyres. They dropped down the hill into that very tough downhill break. Bezzecchi is in the prime position here, isn't he? Because with clear air in front of him, he's not got bikes ahead of him, so he's not going to be struggling physically with all the hot air that's being blown into his face, like a hairdryer on full blast, turned up to full heat. And also, of course, he's not going to have to contend with issues and worries and concerns about front tyre temperature and pressure. Martin made the perfect start again, then using that brilliant new start device that's on the factory Ducatis of him and Pecco Bagnaia. It was Miller that went really wide in the first corner. Maverick Vinales was pushed out in the marbles as well, as they jostled for position. Thankfully, after all the sprint drama yesterday, they all made it safely through, although there was more than a little bit of shoulder and elbow rubbing, you feel.
So this is on board with Brad Binder, and that's Aleix Espargaro, I think that is, on our right-hand side, who makes contact with Binder, and Maverick Vinales, I suspect, was just on the outside of that and had nowhere to go. So he was sent out wide, back with the leaders then, and Marco Bezzecchi through the first sector of this lap. His lead is now approaching that 1 second mark. It's 0.9 of a second through the first sector of this lap, and it was through here where Bezzecchi pulled out particularly a lot of time on Bagnaia on the previous lap, and Martin wants to get on with this.
Cool, that was, I thought he was going for the proper full send there, the full lunge on the inside. It was just him lining up the different lines, clear evidence there of the different approaches you can attack turn 8 to 9. Martin knows he's got to get on with this, because he can see visibly Bezzecchi is starting to get the hammer down here and he's pulling away. Martin knows he's got to find a way through very quickly on Pecco Bagnaia. He's got to try and make it clean. He doesn't want to cost them both time. He's going to be close enough to strike down the hill into turn 13. Bezzecchi though now 1.2 seconds clear. Martin's victory, hopes you feel, rest on getting Pecco Bagnaia very quickly.
Where it looks to me that Bagnaia is losing a little bit of time, he's out of those fast right-left sweepers. First of all, through turns 6 and 7, you saw Martin suddenly climbing all over him as they approached turn 8, and then again, when they went through 10 and 11, the left-right flick through there, Martin was just so much quicker on the way out of those corners. He's able to get himself right onto the back of Pecco Bagnaia, but as you say, time is running out for Martin to have any hope of winning this Grand Prix. Bezzecchi's lead is over 1.3 seconds. He was 6/10 quicker than the world champion on that last lap alone.
Running with Pecco Bagnaia, not a problem. Trying to overtake him, a big problem. He's such a great defensive rider. We've seen it over the last few Grand Prix how good he is. Martin though trying. Oh, he's gone full in there. They're both going to run wide, aren't they? You can hear the crowd, they're on their feet in the main grandstand here. It was a real big block pass there, wasn't it? He had to squeeze through. He forced the issue there, did he, Martin? It was the only way. With the slipstream, he got side by side with Bagnaia, and when push came to shove, doing the pushing and the shoving was Martin. Bagnaia then back in third place. Now, having got through on Pecco Bagnaia, what can Jorge Martin do now to set about reeling in this, 2.1 second gap to Marco Bezzecchi?
I'd love to know what the world champion thought of that one, because Jorge Martin certainly wasn't leaving any quarter there to Pecco Bagnaia on his way through into second place, although it did cost them both 0.7 of a second to Bezzecchi, who's now over 2 seconds up the road. It was a turn 4 of extremes for the Prima Pramac Racing team. Martin going through on Bagnaia, but Johann Zarco sailed wide into turn 4 in the back of the picture. It's cost him 3 places.
Yeah, that little tangle there between Bagnaia and Martin at turn 4 played into the hands of Marco Bezzecchi, and he will now, if he looks at his pit board, which of course he surely will do, he will see the advantage gained on this lap. 7/10 he took out of Martin as he was desperate to get through with the aggression on Bagnaia. Bagnaia snaking that Factory Ducati sideways on the entry to the first corner.
Oh, Marquez down!
Marquez has gone down the first corner. He's desperately trying to hang on to it, but Marquez slides out of 4th place. He was going with Pecco Bagnaia. First corner, he just laid underneath that Repsol, so he's been able to quickly remount and rejoin this Grand Prix. But Marc Marquez then, that leaves Fabio Quartararo in a relatively lonely 4th place now then. So Marquez out of 4th, he has rejoined though.
Tells you how hard Marc Marquez was pushing though, doesn't it, to try and stay with the trio of Ducatis up ahead of him. He was putting in a fine performance up until then, but unfortunately at the start of lap 6, Marc Marquez goes down, so he is down now to 16th place. You can see Jack Miller just behind him trying to recover from that turn 1 problem, and this is what happened to the 8 times world champion into turn 1.
You know what, ahead of him, Bagnaia was getting it really out of shape and twitchy, wasn't he, as well? And I just wonder whether that was also a bit of a distraction for Marquez, but he just threw it in there on its side, and when he did so, you could just see there the front just didn't hang in there underneath. And as you look back to Marc Marquez, Simon, I know you're on the spot as always, you've just seen that, what do you make of it?
No, it was more about, you said about the riders pushing, and I agree, but like, they are not conserving tyres like we expected. I'm standing with Piero Taramasso from Michelin, he's like looking worried because they're only half a second slower than the very best lap of the sprint yesterday. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. They're all trying.
Red hot conditions, thanks Simon. Red hot conditions and a red hot pace. Fair play to Bagnaia. He's not let Martin get away, has he, in that second place? Martin, though, gets fantastic drive. He gets that Michelin rear tyre hooked up superbly, doesn't he? With the drive grip coming out of turn 13. On the brakes, attacking hard through this very tight first corner. They drop down then now through turn 2. This is going to be the overtake into turn 4.